Hello, welcome Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. We've got Bill Stiles joins us. He is Chief Deputy Attorney. Legislature approved him. He had to be confirmed, and I'll call him the second in charge because something ever happens to Jeff Landry, God forbid, Bill would be the guy that would step up. Bill, how you doing, bud?
Boy, let's God forbid that would happen, Moon.
Well, look, I don't want that to happen. I just wanted to be honest with people that, that would be, you're sitting in a very important position. You never know what could happen. I pray to God Jeff's there for a good long while, and I'm sure you do too. But anyway, thank you for joining us. All right, the courts just ruled. They had a big old deal with Larry Bankston. Everybody knows, a former rep and Big Edwards guy and all that stuff. And then I think the governor either hired him or tried to hire him. There's also some stuff that went down in court. Tell us what's going on with Larry Bankston. I think he's former Senator Bankston, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's correct. Larry Bankston was a state senator back in the 90s. This matter really all came up, Moon, when we came into office. The Attorney General is in charge of approving outside contracts for many of the agencies, boards, and commissions. And we came into office, and we kind of went through a bunch of contracts and signed just to kind of keep the ball rolling down the road. And then Mr. Bankston's contract came up for renewal about 6 months later, and we looked at it, and they were trying to appoint him to be the general counsel for the Louisiana Board of Contractors.
Yeah.
Mr. Bankston was convicted.
Hold on, can I stop you? That's the governor appoints that, correct?
Actually, the board does. The governor appoints the board, but the board, makes the request.
But I know, Bill, I know how that works. So if you appoint the board, probably gonna have a little bit of who gets there. I know you can't say that, but to me, that's how that normally happens. But go ahead, take it from there.
Yeah, so the board requested Mr. Bankston. We looked at it. He had been convicted of receiving a public bribe when he was a state senator in 97 on 2 counts. He was then disbarred in 2002 from the practice of law for being convicted of those things. And in that case, the court basically said, this was particularly egregious because they occurred while he was a state senator and it caused inestimable harm to the public's perception of the legal profession. So he was disbarred, and then in 2004, he was reinstated to the bar. But anyway, he came up for contract. We looked at his background and said, this probably isn't the guy that ought to be running, the general counsel for the Contractors Board.
Sure.
Well, the Contractors Board sent us a letter back, telling us how great Mr. Bankston was and that he, they really wanted him. We even got a letter from the governor endorsing their recommendation. And so, at the time we trying to play ball. And so we said, look, if this is who y'all want, this is who the governor wants, then okay, y'all take him, y'all own him. And then if you recall, in August of 2016, during the flood, after that, they had this $1.5 billion contract that had to be put out. Mr. Bankston was involved in that. Unbeknownst, I think, to the board, Mr. Bankston's son was, I believe, working with one of these parties, or that was some allegations that he was contracting one of these parties that was bidding. The bid process ended up getting canceled and resubmitted. And there were accusations of shenanigans going on. And matter of fact, if you recall, Governor Edwards had to go and actually testify in Congress, and the whole issue came up. And huge embarrassment to the state.
Yep.
Probably delayed the contract for some period of time.
By the way, Bill, just on a side note, you don't have to comment on it, but it is amazing. Controversy, Edwards goes endorsed that. They made the controversy with Kyle Antoine and the contract and the voting machines, and Edwards and them got rid of that one. So see how the politics is being played back and forth. I mean, on one side, they still pushing for something, even though there's controversy. On the flip side, oh, no, controversy, and then they cut the contract. I just want people to show that how this thing works politically. If you're with me, I'm for you. It doesn't matter how bad it is. But if I'm against you, no matter how good it is, we're going to beat you. I just wanted people to understand that.
Yeah, and so Mr. Banks' contract came back up for renewal, and we said, look, we ain't renewing you. Had we known this contract, all this was going on, we don't think you acted appropriately. And so we're not going to renew the contract. We advised the board we weren't going to renew the contract. the board kind of hemmed and hawed and relented. And they ended up hiring a different attorney. We approved it right away. And then Mr. Bankston filed a lawsuit against the Attorney General saying that we don't have any say, and that he's entitled basically to this contract. And so, background, if you recall the whole executive order LGBTQ contract issue that had come up, and the court had already said, look, this is not, the Attorney General has authority. This matter was pretty much settled. So, we thought Mr. Banks' contract was pretty frivolous. We filed, and it was in front of Judge Fields in Baton Rouge. Judge Fields kind of ruled against us, so we took him up to the First Circuit, and the First Circuit basically agreed 100% with us and said, look, this is not a matter that the court has subject matter jurisdiction over, and basically unanimously ruled against Mr. Bankston.
And Jeff Landry won again.
Yeah,
and I feel like he won. I feel like he won, and y'all won for the people too. I really do.
Yeah, Louisiana's trying to turn a page, Moon. We don't need this kind of baggage.
No.
We got more lawyers per capita in the state of Louisiana than most states. There's plenty of lawyers out there that could do good work for the state of Louisiana. We don't need to have this type of thing. It's kind of high profile position. Because this type of thing really erodes the public trust, and you need people in there that the public can trust. And in the event that occurred with the flood, it was just basically, look, we told y'all so, and here we go again.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We're speaking with Bill Stiles, who is Chief Deputy Attorney General, and of course he's second in command, so to speak. And we're talking about the Larry Bankston, former Senator Bankston's case, which, by the way, Landry and his crew won again yesterday in court. It's amazing. I just find it amazing that every time the governor and any of this type stuff came up, they go against Jeff. They win in the media because the media always bashes Jeff. But when it goes to court, Landry seems to be right almost everything that he's fought so far. I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's been right almost every time he's brought something to court or been sued in this case.
Well, Moon, we write on the law. When you write on the law, you win. And I think this is probably about the fifth case we've been in court with over some activity by this governor, and this is the fifth time we've prevailed. So, we've the law's agreed with us every step of the way.
There's no doubt about it, and I've said that all the time. If you got the law on your side, you're probably going to win because most of these cases, I think the ones that y'all have fought so far, and this is my disappointment in the governor, he's fighting for stuff that's cut and dry, that you have a constitution or there's a law that is backing what y'all are saying. And I'm glad somebody's out there fighting against some of this. I mean,
the governor Moon believes that the Attorney General is his lawyer.
He's not,
and we're not. We're not. We're not the governor's lawyer. We're the governor. We're the lawyer for the people of the state of Louisiana.
Sure.
It's the one thing that the Louisiana Constitution has right. You have an independently elected Attorney General who's the legal voice for the state of Louisiana, independent of the governor, and basically is a check on the executive power of the governor. Had the people wanted it differently, they'd have said so in the Constitution. They didn't. We have an independent Attorney General, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, Bill,
regardless of who's in office.
Well, Bill, wouldn't you agree if it was probably in the Constitution that we wouldn't have to elect an Attorney General? What we do is we elect a governor, and it says governor to appoint the Attorney General to serve the governor. I voted for Jeff Landry. I'm proud of it. I voted against the governor. I'm proud of that too. But it's two different separate entities, and it's going to always. Now, Jeff represents the state very well, and I think this is another case. There was some nepotism. There was some cronyism. And they got busted, and when they went to court, they lost again. And that's what is amazing to me.
Yeah, and it's really amazing that that we had to go back to court on this. We wasting taxpayers' dollars fighting, I got lawyers, I got some great, super fantastic lawyers at our office. I really can't give enough credit to all the lawyers that we have in our office. Hardworking employees of the state, and they got to go in there and fight this mess. Over something that, is pretty ridiculous. It's pretty telling, that someone thinks they're entitled to some kind of contract because of whatever, politics, I guess you could say. And, we got to go fight this thing. But again, the laws are on our side, and we prevailed. And thank goodness that we have an independent attorney general.
Thank God.
Irrespective of who the governor is, Moon. I mean, we may have a different governor next year. And if that's the case, and Mr. Landry is reelected, guess what? We're going to treat them the same way. I mean, the law is what the law is. And, irrespective of who's in office, we about standing up for the rule of law. And we're going to continue to do so.
Let's do this, Bill. You got a few more minutes. I'm going to take a quick break and hold you just a few more minutes if I can.
Yep.
Bill Stiles, my special guest. He is he's the deputy attorney general is what I'm going to call him, because that's who he is. He's the second guy in charge. So chief deputy attorney. Big victory again for the state. Because Bill, you talked about Jeff's working for the state, so it's not a victory. It is a victory for Jeff and y'all because y'all did the job, but it's a victory for the state. I mean, we've seen cronyism and good old boy network run this state into the ground. It's good to have somebody step up based on the law to stop what's going on.
Yeah, I think for a long time, the Attorney General's office in this state, Moon, it has been, just kind of a non-factor in a lot of things that have gone on in the state of Louisiana. And when Attorney General Landry got elected, he ran on, look, we're going to do it different. We're going to use the authority of the Attorney General's office as best we can to try to change Louisiana into the state that the people of Louisiana want it to be. And we've gone about doing that. And this is unfortunately, it's a victory, but quite frankly, it's kind of sad that we're having to deal with this. Period.
My good friend, he's been dead 3 years ago yesterday, CB Ferguson. He used to talk about this all the time. He said, I wish I was a billionaire. I said, why is that, CB? He said, because of all the things that he watches that goes on unconstitutionally through the legislature and through the good old boy network. He said, if I had $1 billion, I'd spend it. Because he said, unless somebody's willing to put money out there and file suits and go challenge all this stuff, it never gets challenged. You just mentioned how it's expensive to the state to continue to fight this kind of stuff, yet the taxpayers are paying for it. And I think he was right on that. There's a lot of things we can do, but, boy, it takes people's money to go do it, and that's the problem. It just takes a lot of money.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we get put in some very strange positions at the Attorney General's office because, the legislature will pass something and we may look at it and it may be questionable and may be something that was passed years ago. And then sometimes we got the duty to go out there and actually have to defend sometimes what we may not agree with. But guess what? That's our job.
Sure.
The legislature, the people speak through their legislators, and they pass the law, and it's the Attorney General's job to go and defend it. And we've had to do that in cases where we may not even agree with the law.
Well, let me ask you a question. Are y'all getting any push?
That's our duty.
Yeah. Are y'all getting any pushback from Senator Bankston, who's still heavily tied with a lot of old Democrats? Are y'all getting any pushback that he's going to try to retry this, or this is done?
I think they've mentioned that they're going to take this up to the Supreme Court. I don't know. I don't know that the Supreme Court is going to take this up. As I mentioned earlier, I hope it's over. It should be over.
Yeah, but don't you feel good? Don't you feel good if it goes to Supreme Court, Bill, that you're going to win there too?
Oh, absolutely. Look, this is as I said, I think this was a pretty frivolous lawsuit to start. Everybody's entitled to their day in court. Mr. Bankston's had more than one day in court, and he's probably going to get a couple of more. But we steadfast in our commitment to doing what's right for the people of Louisiana. This is certainly a case where we write on the law, we write on the facts.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that, under these circumstances that the Attorney General don't have the authority to use his discretion to say, hold on, wait a minute, this ain't the guy for the state of Louisiana.
Well, let me ask you a question. I know he was convicted. Did he serve jail time?
I believe he did, Moon. I believe he did, but don't quote me on that because I'm just going off my memory here. But I believe he did.
Yeah. Well, and it just blows my mind that we returned back to the old days of not our glory days, and I'm glad Attorney General, and y'all did your job. That's all we want y'all to do is do a job. And I'm glad y'all not under the governor. I don't care if I like or don't like the governor. Personally, I don't like many of them, so it don't matter. But I don't care. Y'all do your job, and I think everybody will be happy because the state's better off for it.
I agree with you 100%, Moon, and we're going to keep on fighting to keep the authority of the Attorney General independent and make sure that he's always responsive to the people and not to the folks in Baton Rouge.
Well, I tell you what, I'll make you a deal, Bill Stiles, Chief Deputy Attorney General. I'll make you a deal. You keep fighting, and me and Brandon's getting ready to eat some Dino's pizza.
All right, well, that sounds like I wish I was there with y'all. It sounds like a good deal. I'm getting the short end of that stick, but
you definitely get the short end of the stick. But now, I'm a businessman. I could sell you one.
I can tell you one thing. I say I'm getting the short end of the stick, Moon. It's been a great privilege and an honor to serve the people of Louisiana in this capacity. And
well, you're doing a great job.
Fortune.
We appreciate
Thank
it,
you,
man. Chief Deputy Attorney General Bill Stiles. Thank you, brother. God bless.